Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Mi Sangre tu Sangre. I am your host, Roger Reis, Senor Sangre. And in this episode, we'll be talking to somebody who's benefited from blood donations, not only to save her life, but her daughter's life, and how this has transformed her in a career path of giving back, but also as a blood donor. So stay tuned. Today, joining me is Yvonne with the South Texas Blood and Tissue Blood Bank here in San Antonio and the greater South Texas area. And Yvonne's going to tell us a little bit about what she does here, but she's also going to let us know about how blood has played a role in her life. Her and I have been talking, and she's needed blood before, and she'll explain a little bit about that. But she's also going to talk about what she sees as her role here with South Texas Blood and Tissue and what it means for her to go out into the community and what it means to collect blood for our community. So Yvonne, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about who you are first, and mom, who you are, just some personal information, but don't get too personal.
Okay, so yes, my name is Yvonne Ortega, and I've been with South Texas Blood and Tissue for 10 years already. I am a mother of 3 and a grandma of 2. Yes. Wow. So I've been with this organization for 10 years, but prior to this blood center, I worked at a different blood center for 17 years. So blood is all I know.
Wow. So 17 years. So you must have seen a lot and seen how the needs have changed throughout the years and how our population in this area is growing and how much more blood we need. So I know we had talked a little bit about blood as far as you needing it. But before we touch into that, talk a little bit about your daily routine here at the center currently and what your role is.
Okay. So yes, as a mobile operations manager, we run all the blood drives out on the mobile. So these blood drives go all over San Antonio and the surrounding areas as far as Lubbock, Del Rio, Eagle Pass, Laredo, all over. So every morning the buses pull up. It's either a bus or a box truck. Our team loads them up and they head out into the field. So my job is to make sure that all those blood drives go out fully staffed with all their equipment to be able to collect the blood that the community needs.
So somebody who's not understanding what all is entailed, what is, when you say load the buses, what are you loading these buses with?
We load it up with the blood bags, snacks and drinks for the donors, their incentives, their T-shirts, all the equipment that we need to collect the blood, and then the coolers that will hold the blood until the hospital service department that picks up the blood and transports it back for processing. We load up those coolers. So it's just all the equipment we need to run a blood drive out in the community.
Wow. So how much do you determine how much stuff do you take with you before you head out into the community for a blood drive?
Okay. So before our team goes out, there's a team that goes out in the community and looks for these blood drives. They meet up with one person in that organization and they kind of just plan it out how many people they think they can bring to this blood drive. They get a number, and then from there, a different department will plan and coordinate all that, and they will load up that proper equipment. So we always have a goal for each blood drive, and we hope to exceed it. So we always take that extra supplies just in case we do exceed.
So when you go out into these community drives, how many, I guess, staff members or phlebotomists, is that the correct word, go out to do that? And do they have to have special driving skills to drive the giant buses or anything like that?
No, the buses, before you have to have a CDL, but now all our newer buses no longer require CDL, but you do require training, but we do give that in-house training. So each bus, you can hold up to 5 employees. We like to put 4 just so they can have that extra space, but 5 people will fit because we also have to take account of the donors that are going to be getting into the bus. So that way it's not too packed. So 4 people is a good number, 5. And then each box truck can hold 6 staff members. So with that, one bus can collect about 50 units. So if the projection is higher than 50, then we'll take out either 2 box trucks or 2 buses, or however, depending on how big the blood drive is going to be.
2 questions to that. Mm-hmm. What is a box truck and what does that entail? And then 50 units that you just said. Is that a lot? Is that a little bit? So you can answer those 2.
Yes. So a box truck is kind of like a U-Haul truck, right? It's empty in the inside. And then another department called Mobile Logistics is going to load up all the equipment. That's donor beds, the screening rooms, our computers, everything and anything we need. So in the morning, we have to go into that box truck in the back. The driver will go in there as with the team leader as well. And they're going to do an inventory and just make sure that we do have all the supplies we need to collect those units.
Oh, okay.
50 units, it is quite a bit. We can do that within maybe 4 hours, maybe even less, depending on if the donors are showing up on time, depending on if donors are walking in. 50 units is a lot, but of course, we always need more. And that's 50 units for one blood drive. Today alone, we have 8 blood drives. Some of them are projected to draw more than 50. Others are projected to draw 50.
So we had Ashley on our last episode, and she was telling us how one donation can possibly help up to 3 people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're collecting 50 at this drive, you're actually helping 150 people. Is that
correct? And then there's also another procedure where it's called an automated donation or a double red donation, where you donate 2 units. So if you qualify for that donation, then that donor alone is saving two lives.
Okay.
So the ones who do whole blood, they can save up to 3 lives because they divide into platelets, plasma, and red cells.
So Ashley was kind of telling us about whole blood, but you're talking about that other procedure. Tell us a little bit about that automated procedure.
Okay, so the automated procedure, it's done on a machine. This device we have, it's brand new. It's called an Alex. It's not brand new. It's new to us, but it's been out already. We just transitioned from an old device to this device, and you have to qualify. You have to meet a certain height, certain weight, and your hemoglobin has to be at a certain level. So not everybody qualifies. So if we see those that qualify, we'll ask them if they want to give us a little bit of extra time, and if they want to help save extra lives. If they qualify, we'll test them, and then we'll put them on this device. And it's done through just one arm. I know a lot of people have heard that it's done through 2 arms, but it's not. It's one arm. The needle is a little bit smaller than the whole blood needle. And you just sit there an additional 10 to 15 minutes, right? So 10 to 15 extra minutes, and you get to save more lives. And then we're just taking out the red cells. So it's almost like those donors who donate plasma. The blood is going to be taken out. The machine alone has a centrifuge that separates the red cells from the plasma. We keep the red cells, and your plasma, along with some saline for hydration, will be returned to the donor.
So who are the type of patients, I guess, that are needing just that type of what you're doing there as a red cell?
All kinds: cancer patients, trauma patients, premature. It's concentrated red cells. So when you do a whole blood, everything's mixed in there. We send it to the lab, and they have to separate it into the plasma, the platelets, and the red cell. So the volume of the red cell is less there. So when you do the red cell, it's just all concentrated red cell. It's already processed. So we can get the blood out to the hospital faster. We do ask for the O positives and the O negatives, because that's the type of blood that we need the most. We'll use all kinds of blood, but that's the type that we need the most. So those are the ones we target the most.
Why do we need that the most?
Well, O negative is the universal donor. They can give blood to everybody. So if there's a trauma, an emergency, they're going to administer the O negative until they can stabilize you, and then they can give you the blood type that you need. So we always need to make sure that we have that on the shelves.
And there's an O positive?
O positive. O positive is also very important because it's the largest population, right? So a lot of the donors out there are also O positive, but the O positives can also qualify for Heroes in Arms, which is a special type of donation that is used on the helicopters and also in the ambulance. So if there's a trauma and they're transporting the patients, they're going to administer it through the helicopter or through the ambulance as they're transporting them to the hospital.
Awesome. Those are some cool things.
Yes.
I know some knowledge for some of us
Yes,
here
yes.
who have not known that. All right, then. So I'm going to jump a little bit over now to your story. You've done this for a very long time.
Yes.
Before I jump into almost your story, but what does that feel like rewarding as far as a personal, knowing that these people are coming out and donating, and your team is the one who are kind of leading that, and the secret heroes behind the scenes doing that?
Yes, well, I'm very proud. Like, I always tell the team, like, it's not just the job, right? Like, yes, we come to work and do it, but do you understand what you're really doing? Like, there's people at the hospital that's actually waiting for this blood, whether it's the families of the patients or the patients themselves. Uh, I myself waited for blood, and I'm glad that the blood was available. I've waited many times for family members, and the blood has always been there. But I always like to tell my team, like, don't see it as just a job. Like, it's very important. It's an important job, but like you're really affecting people's lives. Like people are waiting for this blood just to see another day sometimes.
Wow. And so you were in that position at one time
Correct.
where you relied on the generosity of some donor coming in and donating blood and to save your life and your daughter's life.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about that from the beginning, how a lot of that started.
Okay. So 1995, I was 16 years old and pregnant. And I started feeling sick. I was only 26 weeks pregnant. So I still needed a long ways to go. But I started feeling sick. So I asked my dad to take me to the hospital. I went to the hospital and I collapsed right there. And right away, the doctor said, we're going to have to take the baby out, right? It's an emergency C-section. You're very sick. And in order for them to treat me, they needed to get her out. So she came out a couple of hours later. She was only weighing 2 pounds. She was very, very tiny. And then while she was out, they had to transport her to a different hospital that had an ICU. And so she was transported there. And 4 days later, I was able to go finally see her. And she weighed less than 1 pound. So during that time, those 4 days, while I was in the hospital recovering, I needed blood and plasma. No, blood and platelets, I'm sorry. Blood and platelets. And I didn't really think like where the blood was coming from, right? At first, I didn't want it because I was like, no, like, I don't know where this blood is coming from. And the doctor right away said, well, you either take it and survive and get to go see your daughter, or you're not going to make it. And so I was like, sign me up. I took the blood. Again, it never hit me at that moment. Like, where does this blood even come from? I guess I just thought it was at a hospital. I mean, I was 16 and I just wanted to go see my baby. So I go to the hospital. I get out 4 days later. I go to the hospital. My baby's weighing less than 1 pound. And then I hear that she needs blood. And I'm like, well, hurry up. Let's sign me up. Let's get it. And she just took syringes, like little drops of blood. And to me, it didn't seem a lot, but just those few drops of blood that she was getting, like you literally could see the color coming into her. She started like moving her fingers and she, her little cry, I always said it sounded like a little kitty. She was like, just making little noises. But as soon as she would get the blood, like you would see that it brought life to her. So I was grateful that the blood was there for both of us, because had I not taken it, who knows what would have happened.
Wow. So seeing that, I guess, kind of inspired you to want to give back.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So like I said, I was 16. So I had her the summer before my junior and my senior year. So then when I go into my senior year, I see the blood drives going on and I'm like, oh, okay. So it kind of hit me, but not really. Right after high school, I went to school for medical assistant. I graduated, and the first job that my advisor gave me was to a blood center in the Rio Grande Valley. I went and I got hired, and then it hit me. This is where the blood comes from. People, out of the kindness of their heart, takes their time to go to these blood drives, go to the office, and give this blood, and then it goes to the hospital. It never occurred to me where this blood came from. And from that day on, even though I said I was going to give that blood center only 1 year and then go back to school, once I started there, I'm like, no, this is where I belong. Like, it was like meant to be, right? And then just after that, I'm still here.
Wow, it's full circle. But not only are you in the blood field or as your career, but you're also a donor.
Yes, I'm also a donor. In fact, today I'm going to be donating at Ingram Park Mall. Hopefully I pass. My iron is usually low, but I'm going to try. Yes, I give as many times as I can. Usually I make it 4 times a year. I try the 6 times a year, but I don't always make it. So today I hopefully will pass, and I'll be donating today.
So when you donate, I know we've talked about different procedures. Ashley had told us a little bit about platelets. So what type of donation do you do when you donate?
I have to do whole blood because my blood type is A positive. So we don't really need a lot of A positives when we do the automated donation, which is the double red cells. Like I said, we need the O's and the A's, so that's okay. I won't do that one. But also, I don't meet the height. I'm too short for that one. You do have to be 5'5". The females have to be 5'5", and I'm only 5'2". And then I used to do platelets a long time ago, but now they do a special testing for antigens that I no longer qualify because I have them. So I no longer qualify for platelets anymore.
Awesome. So when you come in, is that kind of like it's more your time to relax? Ashley was saying that she takes that time to relax and catch up on shows or read a book or something like that.
Yes. A whole blood donation, you can expect to be there anywhere from start to finish, right? You have to go through the medical screening and all that. About 45 to an hour. But the actual donation for whole blood is about 10 to 15 minutes. And even though I'm doing it in my work environment, I let my staff know, let me sit here, relax, and enjoy your work. Like, this is me, like, enjoying it. It's the eyes of a donor as opposed to the eyes of the manager out here. So I do enjoy donating blood. And it's just, I take pictures all the time and I always post it. And I'm like, I can't even explain it, that this fluid coming out of me is saving someone's life.
Right.
Like, it's amazing.
Talk about some of the things. I know you and I and our team had talked about some of the reasons people don't donate, and you did a video a while back regarding tattoos.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that and some of the misconceptions people may have of why they can't donate.
Okay, so over the 27 years of being in the blood bank industry, lots of things have changed. A lot of people think if you have diabetes, you can't donate, and you can. There are some medications that would disqualify you, but we check them. But the majority of them will pass. The same with tattoos. A long time ago, you weren't able to. Before you weren't able to at all. And then it changed to you had to wait 12 months. And now, as long as it's done in certain states, which Texas is one of them, as long as it's professionally done at a tattoo licensed facility, you can donate.
You said diabetes is another misconception. What are some of the misconceptions you being out in the field and your team come across that people may not be aware of that? Like, yeah, you can actually donate.
High blood pressure. That's the first thing I've heard many times. Like, oh no, I have high blood pressure. My heart's going to be pounding and my blood pressure is going to go high. And we're like, no, that's not true. Like, we check your blood pressure, and if it's within limits, we'll accept you. The medication's the same. We also hear, oh no, I'm going to gain weight. No, that's the biggest one. I'm going to gain weight. My mom told me I can't donate. And we're like, no. And I always tell them, like, even if you gained 1 or 2 pounds, like, think about the lives that you're going to save. It's worth 1 or 2 pounds. We also hear, oh, I'm going to faint. And we're like, that doesn't happen all the time, right? Like, it does happen, but we always say, as long as you're fully hydrated, you eat a good meal, and you let us know how you feel throughout the process, you should be fine.
So touching a little bit on that, for somebody who's kind of thinking about donating or never donated, what should they do leading up to their donation?
So we usually say if you know ahead of time, right, 48 hours before your donation, lots of hydration, water, Gatorade, try to avoid caffeine and alcohol as much as possible. Come in on a full stomach, have a good meal. No physical exercise maybe after your donation. You could, but we just tell you, we really want you just to relax on your day of your donation. Take it easy. Even though you should be okay after your donation, some people will go hit it hard at the gym. We don't want them to overexert themselves. But just hydration, make sure that you feel well. You're not sick of a cold, anything like that. That you feel well and healthy, basically, and you hydrated.
So something that we touched on with Ashley is, if you see a blood drive going on, do you have to make it an appointment, or is that somewhere you can just walk in? Because we hear you need to make an appointment sometime to donate blood. Is that true, or can you just walk in and give? No,
we welcome all donors, whether they're appointments or walk-ins. We do take appointments as much as possible before the walk-ins. We just kind of explain to all the donors, like, we're going to take the appointments, we're going to squeeze in these walk-ins. And a lot of times the appointments are the ones walking in. They're like, come in, the more the merrier. Like, they see that the bus is 1 or 2 donors. They want to fill up our buses. They want to fill up the blood drives. Because everybody that shows up to a blood drive, they're there to help, right? They want to help as much as possible. So even the donors themselves are like, yeah, come on in. So we welcome everybody. There is a website you can make an appointment, but we'll take you in as long as you walk in.
So I'm going to go back to your personal story. How's your daughter doing now? And she a donor?
She is not a donor because she's only 88 pounds. On her best day, she'll be 90 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And she eats a lot, and she just does not gain weight. She's very little. She's 4'11", but she always wants to. She's like, are you sure they're not changing the weight limits? I'm like, not all the way down to 88. You do have to at least 110 pounds. So she's not a donor, but she does encourage people to donate. I went to go visit her about 2 weekends ago, 2 or 3 weekends ago, and we went to the mall, and they were having a blood drive. And she wanted me to donate, but I wasn't eligible yet. And then I said, well, encourage somebody else. So then she was just like, for her, it was funny to her too. Like, hey, there's a blood drive going on. Go donate, even though it wasn't us. But I always tell everybody, like, it doesn't matter where you donate. Everybody needs blood all over the world. So if you see a blood drive and you're eligible, give blood.
So to show up to a blood drive, what are some of the things they need? They need a passport, an ID? What is it?
They need a picture ID with their full name, and then, of course, a picture. So anything will work, a driver's license, a passport, as long as we can see that it's them with their name, and then we'll register them and take them in.
Awesome. So once you've gone through the process, you donate, what are some of the things you should and shouldn't do after your donation?
So like I said earlier, we tell them to refrain from exercise. No strenuous exercise, no heavy lifting. We want them to relax. No smoking for the 30 minutes after their donation, right? They just gave some red cells. And red cells is what gives you oxygen. So we want to make sure that you're okay. Hydrate. We tell them to hydrate as much as possible. Avoid the caffeine and alcohol, and just no heavy lifting.
So being out there and at these drives, you and your team, and seeing people come in and donate, but it's not always that way. Sometimes I think you and I have talked that some of these drives nobody shows up to, or it's very rare that you meet your goal. What is that feeling like, knowing that there's this opportunity and it's just there's nobody there?
Yeah, it is kind of sad. Like, I do worry sometimes because there's no substitute for blood, right? So I think about those patients that are waiting for the blood. They're waiting and all they hear is like, well, let's hope, tomorrow we get some blood. And it's not just one hospital. There's so many hospitals all over just the San Antonio area and everywhere, right? We supply outside of San Antonio, like in the small communities outside. So it does hurt a little bit, but that's why everybody, if you can donate, you need to reach out to people. If you see us, don't be afraid just to come and even just ask questions. A lot of, like we spoke earlier about, people think, oh, I can't donate because of this, or I don't have that. But if you don't know, just stop by and ask it, and we can check it out, because there's always going to be people needing blood and platelets, plasma, all kinds of blood products.
So full circle now, you are in the blood field, you've needed blood. So what are your ultimate goals, and what do you plan, and what do you see for yourself moving to the future?
Well, I always say, if I don't get fired from here, I'm going to retire from here. I am currently going to school for business, but I plan on staying here. I don't know. I mean, I say I want to be a director, so maybe, but I think ultimately just being out there in the community and spreading the word. I think after I graduate from school, I think I'm going to look into something like that, because it's true. A lot of people don't know about a blood donation. And most people who donate, either they see it in school, in high school, or a family member, once they grow up, they know a family member or themselves need blood. And then that's how they begin to donate blood. I don't think it's something people just think about, right? So if you've never been exposed to it, they're not going to come in. So I think spreading the word, just going out there in the community and educating everyone, it's important. And I think I may end up in that area.
Gotcha. Talking to the younger audience is kind of who we're talking to here. Of course, anybody's welcome to watch Mi Sangre es Tu Sangre, but the audience we're trying to reach is a younger adult audience. Why is it so important that they donate? Ashley did talk about a while back how our dedicated donors are a more older donor. And if you can talk about why we need younger donors and why that's so important.
Yes. So, like I said, blood is always going to be needed. There's no substitute. So, as like you said, the older donors have probably been donating since they were very young. So they're getting there up in age, and there's going to be a time where they're not going to be able to donate for whatever reason. And so we just need to keep the cycle going, right? We need to educate the younger ones so they can continue donating throughout their lives, and then they can, invite their children, because there might be a time when, as they're growing up, that they're going to know somebody who needs blood, or they're going to need it themselves. So if they start early, it's like they say, start them early, and they'll keep going. It's just spreading the word, and starting them young is very important, because that they're the future, right? Yeah. So they may be needing the blood. They may know somebody who needs the blood, and it's just full circle.
All right, everyone. So you heard it from Yvonne herself. And Yvonne, anything else you want to tell our audience?
Just come out and donate blood. Like, we need it all the time. Get on our website and find out where the local blood drive is, or come to one of our many centers. We have lots of them all over San Antonio and the surrounding areas.
All right, then.
Thank you, Yvonne, for sharing your story. Lots of good information, lots of insight on the importance of donating blood. Thank you for sharing your story and the impact it's had on you and your family, how blood donors have come to your aid in your worst time in your life, when it was to save your life and to save the life of your daughter, and how now that has transformed you, not only professionally, but as a person, to give back to our community. Also great insight on how important it is to donate blood, and what you and your team see on a daily basis, and what it takes to set up these blood drives, and hoping the community shows up, and collecting 50 units a day at these blood drives, and needing multiple blood drives to actually support the hospitals and the patients that are in our communities. I know 50 units may seem like a lot, but according to what I'm seeing on websites like southtexasblood.org and the American Red Cross, some of these communities rely on even more donations a day. I think what I saw from South Texas Blood and Tissue, and from other communities, that need multiple 100 units a day to supply the hospitals and the communities that they serve. But it's also great to see Yvonne is out there with her team, trying to transform and encourage others. And if you can't donate, encourage others to donate. So that's also great to see that happening. So in our next episode, we'll talk to someone else who's benefited from blood donations, and what that's meant to them, and how you can make an impact in your community. So thank you for joining us on this episode of Mi Sangre es Tu Sangre. And if you liked what you see, definitely leave a comment, give me the thumbs up, subscribe, and hope to see you next time. Thank you.